From the rain-soaked streets of a city that keeps its books in the dark, Callaway Bay Radio presents Endless Noir. Tonight, a warm room to leave from.
The radiator had been ticking since noon like a clock that only told one time. Late. Ice fogged the glass an inch thick, and mine was the only lit window on the block. Warm rooms are rare in this city. So are the people who walk into them without an angle. She was going to be one of each. She came in on a draft of cold air smelling of cigarette smoke and a man's cologne that wasn't hers to wear. Vivian Rourke. They knew her voice down at the waterfront rooms long before they knew her face.
Don't get up, sunshine. You've got the only steam heat left standing in this part of town. Let me stand in it a minute before I say the foolish thing I came to say.
Stand as long as you like, Miss Rourke. Take the chair. Everybody who sits in it thinks they're the first one with a foolish thing to say. You're in good company.
There's a man. He's got a ticket for 2 on a steamer a week from now. And my name is the second one. He says he's taking me clean out of Callaway Bay for good. And God help me, I believe him.
That's not the kind of trouble I usually get. Sounds more like a wedding than a case.
Every man who ever warmed a room for me warmed it with a lie, mister. I'm about to burn my whole life down to the studs for this one. Before I strike the match, find out if he's true. Quiet. He can never know I asked. If he found out I doubted him, that'd be the lie that made all the others honest.
She set a slip of paper on the blotter, the name he was traveling under, and the date the boat pulled out. Then she buttoned her coat against a cold that hadn't reached her yet, and left me the hardest job in the book. Prove a man honest without letting the woman who loved him find out I'd tried. The steam hissed. Outside, the ice was already closing back over the glass. The Chronicle's back room smelled of hot lead and cold coffee, and Flynn kept his best secrets where the presses were loudest. When a man wants a name run down quiet, he doesn't go to the police. He goes to the fella who prints the obituaries and remembers the ones that never got printed.
You want the truth about your girl's sweetheart? Sit down, don't take your coat off. This one's short and it bites. The name he's using, it's real all right. It just doesn't belong to him. Belongs to a nobody who died 2 winters back and never got asked permission.
A borrowed name. That's a long way from the fella who kisses her goodnight and calls himself Steady.
Steady. Sure, under the borrowed name, there's a small-time paper man, penny frauds, bad markers. And one bad night down on the piers, he bought his way clear by giving up the crew he ran with. Handed them over whole. Frankie could have told you which of them made it to low tide and which didn't.
And a crew like that, they keep a ledger.
They keep a long one. Here's the part that'll cost your girl some sleep. They know he's about to slip town. Fresh papers, a berth on something leaving quiet, which means whatever's coming for him is already buying its ticket too. I've got a column to set. You didn't get any of this from me.
And Flynn of the Chronicle was gone, back into the roar of the presses, off to print the news that was fit to. He'd handed me a dead man's name worn by a live one, and a crew already sharpening the difference. She'd hired me to be sure of the man she loved. I was sure of him now. That was the trouble. The room was one flight up over the water, cold enough to see your own breath, and somebody had been feeding the stove all its coal at once just to keep it warm for an hour. A single steamer ticket sat on the table like it was made of glass. Everything else in the place had the look of things sold off, one at a time, down to the walls.
You found the room. I wasn't sure you would. Come in out of the hall, detective, before you let the last of the heat out. He always kept it warm in here. That's the kind of man he is.
One ticket on the table, one name on it, and it isn't his. A man burns his whole winter's coal in an afternoon. That's not a fella settling in. That's a fella clearing out.
He's not going anywhere. That's mine. He bought it in my name. I told him I didn't want it, that I'd stay and we'd take our chances. And he just smiled and put it in my hand like it was already decided.
And what are you willing to give him back for it?
Everything I've got. I've sung to a lot of men for a lot of reasons, and I lied to every one of them. He's the first one I ever wanted to tell the truth to. So I'll spend whatever it costs to keep him, and I'm not scared of the bill. Not this time.
She meant it. That was the terrible part. She thought love was a thing you paid for and then got to keep. But I had already done the arithmetic she couldn't bring herself to do. The ticket was in her name because a borrowed name can't buy passage, and the men hunting his real one were closer than the boat. He'd sold off the room, the coal, the last of a life spent hiding, all of it poured into that one square of paper, so she could sail and he could stay and pay. She'd walk up a gangplank in the spring. He wouldn't see it. He'd be somewhere at the bottom of a colder winter than this one, having bought her a summer he'd never lived to hear about.
Time, friends, is the one thing this city never gives back. The Calvert Watch Company builds 17 jewel movements that keep it to the second, through rain, rough handling, and late nights. Calvert, the second hand you can trust. And now, the conclusion of A Warm Room to Leave From.
I laid both of them on the blotter like a man dealing a hand he already knew was going to cost him. Two true things. One, the fellow was running a dead man's name, a fraud clean through. Two, he was doing it because he loved her enough to hang for it. Two truths, and they wouldn't sit in the same drawer.
So that's the desk tonight. A fraud and a love story, and both of them true. You want me to file it under heartache or under perjury?
She's coming at 9, Dale. I've got till 9 to decide which half of it she takes home.
Then let's put it plain, since you keep circling it. You tell her true, she stays. Whole and cold and by herself, safe as a locked room. You bury it, she walks out that door warm, on a man who lied to her over breakfast every morning of her life.
One of those is mercy.
Don't you dress it up in that coat. Frankie went in the harbor still telling himself the last lie was a kindness. Neither one of these is mercy. One's safe and one's warm, and you don't get to hand her both. So which one are you going to be tonight? Say it out loud, to me, before you say it to her.
Rain walked down the window like it had all night to get where it was going. I looked at the two true things and I knew Dale was right. I couldn't give her both, and whichever one I picked up, I'd be the man who chose it. So I picked one up, and at 9 o'clock I'd find out what kind of man that made me. The pier was iron under a sky that hadn't decided yet whether to be morning. Down the water a boat sat waiting, low and patient, its one lamp burning like a held breath. This city has a way of keeping everybody it's got its hooks in. I'd seen a woman try to leave on a midnight train once, ticket in her glove. They collected her before she made the platform. So I stood in the cold and watched this one come, and I let myself hope the harbor was slower than the rails.
You came all the way down here just to see me off, detective. And here I had you figured for a man who says his goodbyes from a doorway.
Doorways are for people staying. You've got a boat. Cutter says the tide turns in 20 minutes and won't wait on either of us.
Then tell me the true thing before I go. I've spent my whole life being lied to sweetly, mister. Him. Is he what he says he is? Because I'm too old and too scared to be wrong about it one more time.
There were two truths in my coat that morning. One was clean and warm and would fit in her hands. The other had a borrowed name in it and a debt closing quiet behind them like a door in a cold house. The price somebody paid so she'd never have to. I'm not a generous man, but a man can decide once in a while which half of a thing he hands across. He's true, the love's real, and it's yours, and it isn't playing an angle. That's the part that matters, and it's the part I'd swear to. Go on, get warm for once.
You know, for a hard case, you've got a soft way of setting a girl loose. I believe you. God help me, I finally believe somebody.
She went up the gangway warm and believing, which is more than this town lets most people leave with. The city keeps its books balanced, always, and it had squared this one by letting exactly one person go and charging the whole bill to a man who'd never see her again. I stood on the frozen iron with the other half of the truth in my pocket and nobody to hand it to. Some prices only the buyer and one witness ever know were paid. I was the witness. I lit a cigarette I didn't want and let the boat take her out past the point where the fog forgets your name.
The books never balance in Calloway Bay, Sunshine. We just keep them anyway. Good night.
Next week, The Line She Called. Endless Noir is a work of fiction. The scripts are written by artificial intelligence. The voices are professional voice clones from 11 Labs Voice Library.
KCAL will return to tonight's story in just a moment. Don't touch that dial.
From the rain-soaked streets of a city that keeps its books in the dark, Calloway Bay Radio presents Endless Noir. Tonight, The Line She Called.
January in Calloway Bay, every gate in town freezes shut by dawn. Every gate but one. The cannery ran hot around the clock, and its gate breathed steam into the cold like a thing alive, loud as a bar room and twice as honest. Ada Pruitt had called the names through that steam for 9 years. This morning she wasn't calling anybody. She was just standing there holding a sheet of paper the way you'd hold a dead cat.
You're the Seamus they said would come. Good. Then read this and tell me I've got it wrong. New superintendent handed it down the line yesterday. I'm to mark which of my girls have been talking organization, talking union, and get the names up to him by Monday. Or come Monday, I lose my own spot at the gate.
And if you leave it blank?
Then I'm the first name off it. 9 years I've called that line, mister. I know which of 'em's got a sick kid at home, and which is just tired to the bone. I'm not selling one of them to keep the other. I only don't know how a woman fights a man who sits that far uptown. I can't reach him. I can't even see him.
She said the new man's name like it was just a name. To me, it landed like an old bill coming due. I'd watched that same man step off a dock once with a dead rigger cooling behind him and not so much as harbor mud on his shoes, and walk straight uptown into a better job. Some men fall. Some men just keep finding higher ground. I'd been waiting a long time to learn which kind he really was. The Chronicle's back room smelled of paste and old newsprint and Flynn cigarettes, which he lit off each other like he was scared the last one might get lonely. If a man in this town had a paper trail, Flynn of the Chronicle had read it twice and remembered the parts the man had paid to burn.
Your superintendent's named Sam Aldis, and I've got a whole folder on the gentleman. Started as a walking boss down on the docks. Clipboard, a whistle, and a winch that put a man in a box on his shift. Inquiry cleared him naturally. 2 months later, he's uptown with a title and a desk that faces the water. He doesn't fall, our Sam. He gets promoted away from the bodies.
That's history, Flynn. Give me something with a pulse.
Here's the pulse, then. The cannery payroll's been running short. The ledger swears one number and the pay envelopes come up under it. Week after week, a little each time. Somebody between the counting house and the gate is skimming the difference straight off working people's wages.
Once I'd have had that cold before the ink was dry. There was a man named Frankie who heard every short envelope in this city the way a priest hears sins. For a price, and never on credit. Frankie was in the ground now, so I'd do it the slow way. The way you do everything once the shortcuts are all buried. Aldous was hired to guard that till. If the money was walking, the man they trusted to watch it was the same man robbing it. He'd built himself a whole respectable life standing guard over the hen house. Turned out he'd been eating in there the whole time.
Friends, the night runs long in this town, and nobody knows it better than the man who works it. That's why night people reach for lamplight coffee. Slow roasted, honest, and strong enough to keep a fellow's eyes where they belong. Open. Lamplight, the cup that keeps the night shift honest. And now, the conclusion of The Line She Called.
The Blue Room didn't open till 9, but Paulie Marchetti was already at the back table by 10 in the morning. Good gray suit, doing his books like a man who'd never buried a soul. They call him a deacon now. He holds the cannery labor contract, a pew down front at St. Brendan's, and the cleanest hands in 3 counties if you don't count what's under the fingernails.
Sit down, sit down. You want coffee? No. You want to talk about Aldous? Yeah, Sam's mine. I put him on that gate. A fella came recommended. But between us, a man who can't run a shape-up without writing names on a piece of paper, that ain't a manager. That's a bookkeeper with a grudge. That ain't strength, detective. That's a man telling the whole floor he's scared.
So you'll pull him.
Now why would I go and do that? I don't lift a hand for Sam Aldous, and I don't lift one against him. He's a name on a list, detective. He ain't mine to save. He stands. He stands on his own 2 feet. He falls. I got a long bench. This is business, not family. I don't bleed over to help.
That was the most useful thing anybody had handed me all week, and Paulie never knew he'd said it. Aldous had a title, a contract, and a deacon's blessing, and not one soul uptown who'd spend a nickel to keep him upright. A man like that isn't protected. He's just tall, and in this town, tall men are the easy ones to find with a rope. The superintendent's office rode above the cannery floor, glass on 3 sides so a man could watch the line sweat and never smell it. I laid his own paper across the desk, the payroll sheets, everyone signed in that good, confident hand. Sam Aldous, week after week, every signature a promise and every promise running $10 light. You could make this simple. Give him the 4 names Monday morning. Keep your spot at the gate, let the rest of it ride. Nobody'd blame you. Nobody'd ever even know.
You slide that list back across to me one more time, and you and I are done. I called those women to that line 9 years. I've handed out short weeks and bad news and stood there and took it in their faces. I never once handed a woman up to a man like Aldous. I'm not going to start now to buy back my own gate. Take it off my desk.
So I didn't carry that list to Aldous, and I didn't carry it to the men who count heads at the gate. I carried the shortage up to the ones who count money, the house that trusts nobody, least of all a fresh-suited walking boss. You can beat a killing. Sam Aldous had already beaten a killing, but nobody beats an audit. Ledgers don't hold grudges and they don't forget, and theirs was about to notice their own man some $3,000 shy. The Monday list went into a drawer and stayed there. By the time it might have mattered, the man who wrote it had bigger arithmetic to answer for, and none of it in his own confident hand. Back at the office, Dale had the good coffee out. The real stuff, not the tin she keeps for clients. She only breaks that out on the clean ones, and the clean ones come around this town about as often as an honest alderman.
Don't get used to it. This is a celebration, and celebrations are strictly rationed in this office. Aldous is a guest of the county now, counting somebody else's ceiling by the crack. And your forewoman got up Monday and called her line, same as every Monday. Same names. Every one of them.
The audit did that, not me.
Sure it did. And a woman refused to sell her own people to keep her own place and walked away with both. Say that part out loud sometime. You always want to hand the win to the paperwork. Last time it was that fella who kept his honor and another man's bread in the same hand, and you talked right past him too. Let her have it. She earned it standing up.
I let her have it, but I told Dale the truth on my way to the window. The city didn't let that woman keep her people. This town doesn't let anybody keep anything. She just got up Monday morning and didn't think to ask its permission. The thaw was still weeks off. Somewhere across town, a gate was breathing steam into the dark, and Monday's list had exactly one honest name left on it, hers.
The books never balance in Callaway Bay, sunshine. We just keep them anyway. Good night.
Next week, The Man He Swore To. Endless Noir is a work of fiction. The scripts are written by artificial intelligence. The voices are professional voice clones from 11 Labs Voice Library.